A while ago, I gave my first Pechakucha talk, and I focused on mentorship. One of my longtime mentors, Russ Pry, had suddenly passed away, and I felt moved to pay tribute to those who had shaped my life, but had left me far too soon. My father, my godfather, Russ. That presentation must have resonated because the folks at PK asked me to come back tonight and offer it again, but something occurred to me when I sat down to familiarize myself with the slides. All those that I had paid tribute to were men. And this seemed incomplete. My story was left unfinished. And this is 2018, after all. We just heard these great presenters. Issues of gender equity, justice, respect are all playing out in American courtrooms, boardrooms, newsrooms, and on the streets. The Me Too movement has sent righteous shockwaves throughout our society. So in realizing all this, I felt moved to instead tonight pay tribute to the powerful women who have influenced me. My mother was born in Casper, Wyoming, the oldest daughter of a family of 8. My grandfather didn't believe in educating girls beyond high school, so my mother worked her way through college, earning 2 bachelor's degrees, ultimately adding 2 graduate degrees and numerous awards as a classroom teacher and high school principal. When reading James and the Giant Peach to me, her Aunt Sponge was so convincing. I remember wishing that I was James, rolling in that peach, headed towards the sea. Through my formative years, my mother was the only thing I could ever really count on. And we've been through a lot together. My father's illness and death, my teenage drug use, questionable girlfriends, and her beating cancer twice. I think both my mother and I would admit that we've seen a lot of good, a fair amount of bad, and definitely some ugly. But my mom, perhaps more than any other human being, deserves the credit for me standing here today. She's right over there. My first job out of college was working for Jennifer Bruner, the first woman ever elected Ohio Secretary of State. As her representative for a 7-county region in Northeast Ohio, I had the privilege of seeing Jennifer up close. She showed me that you can be ethical, intelligent, fearless, and still hold high elected office. Jennifer sacrificed her political future because she would not accept the status quo. She ultimately won the John F. Kennedy Profile and Courage Award for her efforts, but drew nothing but scorn from members of both political parties. But she personified Jefferson's reminder that in matters of principle, we must stand like a rock. As Jennifer pursued a new path, I realized I had to do the same, and as luck would have it, I landed a job working for Kent State Chief of Staff Char Reed. At the time, I had no career direction. Char took me under her wing, made it possible for me to work and finish grad school, but most importantly, she never took any excuses from me. I always told Char she reminded me of Gordon Ramsay because she expected excellence and she motivated you to achieve it, and nothing left her office if it wasn't up to standards, and she didn't let you accept anything less than your best. I now make many of these faces daily. And I ask myself every day, what would Char do? Flashback 2 years ago, and then Mayor-elect Horgan asked me to serve as his chief of staff. Many city leaders questioned if I would survive. Even one told me that I would be run off a cliff. And then I met city's finance director, Diane Miller-Dawson. If you've met Diane, then you've experienced the dignity, grace, and fortitude that she exudes every day. Diane has taught me what it truly means to serve the public interest. She's helped me to avoid many cliffs, and in doing so, helped me to build confidence in the job. Whether she has planned to or not, Diane has now trained and supported a whole new generation at City Hall. The example she has set, lighting the pathway for so many. Speaking of that crew at City Hall, I'm proud to report that the majority of them are strong, talented women, many of them here tonight. I was once confronted by a male city employee questioning why there were so many women working in and around the mayor's office, insinuating a lack of opportunity for men to advance. Behind his flippant attitude, there was a sincere belief that there was something wrong with the situation. I replied that I was always taught leaders surround themselves with people who are smarter than they are. And in my professional experience, those candidates are usually women. It's an honor to be a part of this incredibly talented team, and if I had to make a prediction, I'd say that the future of Akron is most definitely female. But for the past 12 years, my wife, Chrissy, has done more to influence me about who I am and what I want to be than anyone else, male or female. I could quote a dozen poems about love or strength, but it would not do her justice. Because you see, I can't do what she does. Whether as a nurse, a parent, a daughter, a sister, or a friend, I can't do what she does. but daily I try and be worthy of her and her decision to continuously hang out with me. I've raised the level of my game considerably. After all, on our first date, she had her friend ready to fake an emergency and called it off only when she was sure I wasn't a total asshole. And then our daughter came. No one really prepares men for fatherhood, let's be honest. I certainly wasn't ready. But as Chrissy went back to working 4 night shifts a week, Sophie and I had to figure each other out. It took more than a year, but one day she fell down, she reached for me instead of her mom, and I knew then what my purpose was. In my daughter, I see the continuation of a long line of strong women. She is passionate and willing to try new things even when she's nervous. Like every parent, I worry about what kind of world she's going to inherit, but I also take comfort because my own experience tells me she too will have strong women to look up to. So if I had to summarize what I've learned from all these amazing mentors mentioned here this evening, it would be this: actions speak louder than words. Those of us in positions to make a difference must act boldly to do so. The arc of history may be long, but we must do everything in our power to accelerate justice, and men should never abdicate their role in this effort. So in closing, to all the strong women who've mentored me, to all the female pioneers who have spoken here tonight or in the audience tonight, thank you, because millions of our daughters are coming up behind us, and they will have wondrous opportunities because of you. Thank you.